since I have made a non-real estate video for you. And I've had some requests for it. So I figured, why not tonight? It's long overdue. I don't really have a good outline for tonight's video. I've got a couple things that I want to share. I just figured I would say whatever kind of comes to mind and hope I don't get in trouble. I know even you guys that disagree with me, you still like hearing my thoughts, right? I hope. I certainly know that some of my thoughts are certainly not mainstream, especially when it comes to religion. But I've been thinking a lot about that topic lately, and I think because there's been so much Jew hate online, at least the content that gets fed into mine, it's 70, and it was really nice today, so I don't know if you can hear these somebody's out there racing cars or something. Maybe a half a mile or a mile, 3/4 of a mile from here, there's a main 4-lane road, and motorcycles and guys with fast cars go out there and jack around, but I could hear them. I hope you cannot, but anyway, there's been a lot of anti-Jewish sentiment. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with the war that was going on, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact, too, that they are not Christians. And in America, the majority of Americans at least profess to be Christian. And so that difference in belief is an issue. It's the same thing with Islam. I have had so many amazing Muslim clients over the years, and Indian clients who are Hindu, Jewish clients, Christian clients, and it's I just get along with all of them. But I know on a deep philosophical level, if I were to ask them, what do you think is going to happen to me when I die? They would say it's not good. Whereas I believe that so long as they are good, likely they're going to be okay. Assuming there's something after this, which kind of led me further into the thought of the one thing that all of these belief systems have in common is that there is a creator, a designer, if you will. Someone, something designed this life of ours where we are just the right distance from the sun, not to burn up and not to freeze to death. We breathe the proper amount of oxygen and nitrogen and carbon dioxide in the air. Just enough not to die. If we had a little bit less dioxide, we would suffocate. My eyeball is like so complex. And looking at it and knowing that it operates to where I can see you and like it looks at the camera and I know you're back there and like it sends a vision into my brain and processes it where I have this picture, this video in my brain of what this lens is seeing. It's like a camera in my head, 2 of them. So I agree. The world that looks to me logically like there was or is a designer. Something designed this. Something created this. And whatever it is or was, it's the same. It's the same. It's not different. It doesn't have 4 different books. And in my belief, it doesn't have a book at all. And I think that if we could lay the books down, we could find unity. We could find unity in stopping with what we know and leave everything that we don't know as wonder and awe and imagination, right? We truly do not know how we got here, and we truly do not know what happens when we die. We don't know. I don't know. Now, some of you may believe that you may believe in what and how you got here and believe in what happens to you when you die, but you do not know. We cannot know. And sadly, all of these different religions believe something different. And they also believe that if you don't believe in their version, then you're going to burn. And I think that is where hate comes from. That is where division comes from. Because we take these things further than we should. And I think that if we have any hope moving forward in our world, we have got to find a way to unite and stop these nasty divisions. Because I believe that unity is what will save us. I've got a dreaming dog. Vivian. It's kind of like how it's kind Vivian. She's starting to kick her legs, and she kicks the side of the dog bed. But it's like how we celebrate diversity. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe the diversity of America, in that we have so many different races, I think that is a reason to celebrate. But diversity of thought is not. And this is where the problem with like immigration comes in. Immigration without assimilation I think is a negative to our society. And for decades, immigration and assimilation went hand in hand. Anyone escaping a country to come to another country should be coming to that country to want to be a part of that society, not to try to bring their system to this country. If it didn't work over there, it's certainly not going to work over here. And I think that that is a big issue. I do. I think the lack of unity is a problem. Now, like, I love, like, the culture, the foods and the, music and things like that. That's different. That is simply like, to me, that is like secondary to worldview and, overall thought processes of what you believe, like that we're all equal and that we live in a society that is cohesive and we have the same customs and we follow the same rules and we want to help our fellow man. Overall worldview is where we all differ and where I think a lot of our problems are stemming from. But I have hope. I do. I have hope that we are going to get this all worked out. You can look back in history and you can see some really tough times. I mean, America fought a civil war. 600,000 people died. 600,000 Americans died in the Civil War. That's a lot. In order to try to unify this country, because we were at a crossroads that two worldviews were conflicting. And once that was over, we had a long period of relative peace. And I think that we've had such a long period of peace here that we forget. We've lost our way a little bit. We've lost that celebration of unity, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, right? United States of America. But this push for celebrating diversity, I think, has been a net negative on society. And I think that with some tweaks, we can find our way back. I really do, and I think we will. It is my belief that we will survive this kind of anxious time. I do. I believe we will. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about tonight is finding your way through. Finding your way through the madness. And I know one thing that helps me a lot is not watching news and not having social media. I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram. I have YouTube, obviously. But even that, I try to watch long form. I try to look at my feed and watch the long forms. If I get onto shorts and just start scrolling up, it's like, I could get lost in it. It's like, it's dangerous. of your mind. Because poison is out there. And it affects all of us. None of us are immune to poison. And there's plenty of it in our world. So I want to try to give you some good information for your brain. And for you Christians, I have this book. This book is called In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. Now, if you can actually picture that, if you can actually picture being in the wilderness and the weather is horrible, it's cold, it's snowing, and you fall into a pit, and guess what's in there with you? A lion. Now, if you can imagine that, I think we can all agree that's not someplace you'd really want to be. This book, it's a Christian book, but I enjoyed it. How to Survive and Thrive When Opportunity Roars. So I highly recommend this book if you're a Christian and you need some motivation and you're looking for, if you're in a funk and you're just looking for a way to get out, basically hearing examples of how to survive in difficult situations. This book is really, really good. But the book I'm going to focus on today is called On Fire. This is a book. It says reading this book is like having a good friend look you square in the eye and say, the time to be brave is now. Let me just read the inside cover to you. When John O'Leary was just 9 years old, he barely survived a devastating house fire with burns on 100% of his body. O'Leary's doctors told his parents that he wasn't expected to make it through the night. But the story didn't end there. O'Leary, bolstered by several extraordinary people in his life, made it through 5 months of healing in the hospital, and then through the years of excruciating rehabilitation that followed as he struggled to regain mobility and control of his body. The insights he gained through this experience profoundly changed his life, but today, John says that it actually changed him for the better, and that if he had to do it all over again, he wouldn't change it. How is this possible? What makes some people crumble in the face of adversity while others thrive? What are the secrets each of us can glean from John's extraordinary story of resilience? An honest and incredible account of triumph over tragedy. On Fire contains O'Leary's reflections on the 7 life-giving choices he made that ensured his survival and his ability to ignite a radically inspired life. On Fire encourages us to seize the power to transform our lives from ordinary to extraordinary, no matter what our circumstances. As O'Leary says, you can't always choose the path you walk in life, but you can always choose the manner in which you walk it. once expected to die, John O'Leary now teaches others how to truly live. Now, I want to read you this little section. Okay, so it'll give you like a little sneak peek into this book. And again, when I say it's important for you to choose what you put into your mind, what you feed your brain will affect how your life is. You can't expect. It's like your body. You can't expect your body to function if you aren't putting in the proper nutrients. It's like your car. If you've got a car that runs on regular unleaded gas, 87 octane, and you try to put diesel in it, it might run for a little bit, but it won't run right, and it won't run for very long. It will die, and it will be damaged. Our brains are no different. If you are putting in toxic information and all you're doing is like doom scrolling and listening to negativity, hanging around negative people, your outcome is going to probably be negative. You're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're going to be depressed. But if you're putting in positivity, if you're feeding your brain with information that is uplifting and encouraging and giving you hope, you will have a brighter outlook. You will feel better. You will be more motivated. I can promise you it's the case. I promise you. So let's listen to a little bit of John's story. Sorry, I've got actually a plane ticket here from when I went to North Carolina in 2018. So I must have read this, but I must have bought this book for that trip. That was when I was working for Toyota. This section is called Pick Up Your Fork. Have you ever experienced the joy of feeling that you finally made it? Perhaps it was graduating school, landing your first job, or getting married. You worked, strove, labored, and achieved. You summited a mighty peak and then discovered that the difficult part of your journey was just the beginning. For me, that experience was coming home after being burned. I was 9 years old, had just spent almost 5 months in the hospital, endured a couple of dozen surgeries. I lost my fingers to amputation. The painful experience of being away from family, facing continuous procedures, was finally over. The struggle was over. The celebration was on. The hospital that had admitted me with no chance of surviving was now releasing me back to my family. I was now burned, scarred, bandaged, and wheelchair bound, but very much alive and grateful. We pulled out of the parking lot, made the 5-minute drive home, and turned onto our street. I was absolutely overwhelmed by the cars, fire trucks, balloons, and friends lining our subdivision. Under an awning, a line formed of family, friends, classmates, neighbors, first responders, and community members welcoming us home. Music played and people cried. The miracle had happened. The boy lived. Eventually, though, our friends went home. The cars pulled away. The front door shut, and we were left was a strange kid. We sat around the kitchen table in our reconstructed house as a family for the first time since the night before the fire. Dad and Mom sat at opposite ends of the table. 3 of my sisters, Laura, Katie, and Susan, lined one side, with my brother Jim, my sister Amy, and me on the other, so a total of 6 kids. Our family had been through inconceivable trials over the preceding months. We'd lost our house in the fire. My siblings had lost their parents to their near 24/7 hospital vigil. My brothers and sisters, ranging in age from 18 months to 17 years old, had been split up, staying with friends and relatives until the house was rebuilt. My parents almost lost their son. I'd lost my fingers, the ability to walk, and was scarred from my neck to my toes. And yet, here we were. We made it. Home. Together. One family. Changed. Scarred. Transformed. And alive. We were back to eating dinner, cleaning up spilled milk, and worrying about elbows on the table. Life would return to normal, but undoubtedly a miracle had occurred. So tonight we celebrated. The food looked delicious. I closed my eyes and smelled the cheesy goodness, then opened them and realized I couldn't eat anything because of the wrappings, splints, and my inability to hold a fork. I could not partake in my celebration meal. I stared at my plate, not sure what to do. My sister Amy saw me struggling, so she thoughtfully grabbed my fork, speared a few potatoes, and elevated them toward my mouth. Then I heard it. "Put that fork down, Amy. If John is hungry, he'll feed himself." I turned my head toward my mom. What did she just say? Put that fork down. He'll feed himself. What the heck, Mom? Haven't I already been through enough? Are you kidding me? I'm hungry and I can't eat. That night I cried at the table. I got mad at my mom. I told her I could not do it, that it wasn't fair, and I'd been through enough. The night quickly shifted from celebration and laughter to upheaval and contention. The party was over. Mom ruined it all. Yet, that night also created another inflection point for a 9-year-old boy. As my siblings cleared their plates and my hunger and anger mounted, I wedged the fork between what remained of my 2 hands. My fingers had been amputated just above the bottom knuckles because the skin had still not entirely healed. My hands were wrapped in thick gauze. I looked like a boxer fighting to get a fork between 2 boxing gloves. It was painstakingly slow. The fork repeatedly fell out of my grasp, but eventually I awkwardly stabbed at the potatoes, brought them to my mouth, and chewed them, and stared angrily at my mom. I was mad. My hands throbbed. She ruined my night. I hated her, but I was eating. Looking back on it, I see what a courageous stand my mom took. It must have been extremely painful for her to sit with the entire family watching her little guy. How much easier and seemingly more loving it would have been to just feed me those damn potatoes, those darn potatoes, and bring out the ice cream cake. How much easier it is in life to not do or to make others do the hard stuff. Easier to take a picture of the family with others would be there to encourage, to serve, to love me. But this was still my fight. This was still my life. It might be ripe with challenges, but it was also my opportunity to realize that none of these obstacles would be insurmountable. This moment was just the beginning of many times when I would have to find a way. She forced me to pick up my fork, and I'm completely convinced I would not be living the life I am today if she hadn't. I remember the first time I read that, I was still managing a staff of people, and I read that in a sales meeting, and I choked up because I knew I was at the end of my career, and I knew that I was responsible for all these people, and their success was basically I was the leader of that organization. And I took it serious, and I felt like they were all my damaged kids, and it was sad for me knowing that I would be leaving soon. But sometimes you have to give tough love. And that's why I feel like sometimes when I talk to you guys about things that I feel and things that as someone that's older, because I am older than the majority of you guys watching this, I can see through my analytics how old all you guys are. Some of you are older than me, but very few, like 2%. That means like 98% of you are younger than me. And I feel a responsibility to try to help, because I truly do this. This is to help. I truly do feel like I'm giving back with my content here. So I feel an obligation to be brutally honest with you. And I've talked with you about like expectations and to lower your expectations. I talk with you about working hard and suffering and struggling and getting through, because I think back to my years and years and years of struggle. For those of you that don't know, I come from a very poor family. There were 5 kids. My dad worked at a factory and my mom did not work. So it was one income, a lot of mouths to feed. We never went without food, but we went without things. Like, I wanted things as a kid that I could never have. And I think that it's one of the things that instilled in me a strong drive, because I knew as I got to be a teenager and then got older, I knew my parents could not give me the things I wanted. They couldn't give it to me as a kid, and they couldn't give it to me as an adult. If I was going to get it, it was going to be on me. And I just accepted the challenge, and I knew it was going to be hard. But I don't ever recall a time where I hated people that had the life I wanted. I looked to them with aspiration. I looked to them with respect. I wanted to learn from them. It's why all of my friends are older. Because the people that were younger than me didn't have the life I wanted. And I just didn't feel like I could learn from them. I didn't feel like I could grow with them. Now, as I get older, the downfall is a lot of my friends have died. And my very best friend is going blind because he's old. And I'm going to watch him die. But at the same time, I've learned done so much. And I just, that's one of the things that I see in the world today. I see young people that just think that everything should be given to them, that everything should be easy, that the world isn't fair. But I think it is fair. I think the opportunity is there. And we just have to struggle and fight through our youth to get the things that we want so that when we're older we can enjoy them. That's just the way the system is set up. Yeah, in a perfect world, you would just get born, and the day you turned 18, you would say, okay, here's your house, here's your Ferrari, and now here's $800,000 in your checking account. Now just go ahead and enjoy life, all right? Wouldn't that be glorious? But come on, it's not a reality. It's not even a possibility. It's just not. So please know that when I say these things, I believe it with my heart, primarily because I've lived it. You know, I lived through all that struggle. I lived in my 20s just poor and fighting, and in my 30s still struggling and saving money and not buying things that I really wanted because I knew I needed to be investing, because the power of compound interest would one day lead me to be in a situation where I was financially stable. And that's really what I wanted, was a life of never having to worry about money again. I didn't really want the glory. I didn't want to be rich and famous. I didn't want houses all over the world. I just wanted one nice, respectable house that was comfortable, where I could have animals and be happy, and a decent car that I didn't have to worry about it breaking down. And today, I have more than I ever thought I would have. So it worked, and it worked in a way that I could have done less. I could have done less and still made it. So I know it's possible. You know, I'll tell you an interesting story, and this might be controversial, but please don't take this the wrong way. So most of you know I'm in real estate, and I primarily work from home and on the road. Like, I go show houses, I go put signs in yards, I go take photos of houses, I go to inspections. So a lot of my job is just out there in the world. But when I'm making phone calls and sending emails, I'm doing it from my house with my dogs and in the comfort of my own home. But a lot of the people that do what I do actually go to a real estate office. Like, I have an office I could go to. And when I first got into real estate, I did go to the office. But after a while, I thought, why am I sitting in here? This is so dumb. Like, I got into real estate so I didn't have to go to work anymore, so I could work from home. So I stopped going. But a lot of the people, a lot of the even agents that have been doing it 20, 30 years still go to the office. I'm like, I don't understand it. Anyway, every now and then I do have to go. And the other day, I had to have 10 copies of this document that had to be printed on 11 by 17 paper. Well, I didn't have any at home. So I thought, well, I'm only like 10 minutes from my local real estate office. So I drove there. When I got there, so because I don't really have an office there, they have like public workstations for agents that don't have an office, like agents like me, or like my brokerage has like 15 different offices across the Indianapolis area. So I could go to any of those offices and print documents or run copies or, get folders or whatever I needed signs, things like that. Well, there was this, I look over at the public computers because I had to use a public computer because I don't have an office there. And I look over and all I see was this big fez. Do you know what a fez hat is? Well, it was a big fez hat, and the person was staring at the computer, so all I could see was the back of their head. And I thought, of course, it's not Halloween. The first thing I thought was somebody's got a costume on, because I could see purple clothing and this big fez, and I'm like, what is this? I thought it was kind of a joke. So as I walk closer, I realize it's a black guy, and he is head to toe in this purple jumper, this purple, the best way I can describe it, and this probably isn't a good description for you guys because I'm showing my age here, but I thought MC Hammer was all that came to mind. This dude had a purple jumper on, baggy, and this big black fez hat. And there was only 2 computers at this particular station, so I'm going to use the one right beside him, so I had to say hi to him. And he had a very, very thick African accent, so it was his culture to wear this type of clothing. And he introduced himself to me, and I'm he had just such a great personality, so just the nicest guy you can imagine. And as we're sitting there, after we kind of introduced ourselves to each other, he told me what office he was from, and I think it was over on the east side. But he was showing a house over here in Noblesville. And shortly after I had sat down, he got a phone call, and it was an African client with a very thick accent like he had. In fact, I think they started speaking a different language. But in my mind, I thought to myself, if this guy would assimilate and put on a nice pair of dress pants and just a white dress shirt and maybe a tie and take off the fez, I'm the dude could be wildly successful. His personality was just off the charts. Now, it doesn't mean he can't be successful in that African garb he was wearing, but I know with certainty that he's probably primarily just stuck catering to his own kind, because he's not assimilating to our culture. And again, it's okay. He's free to do it. But I wanted so bad to just pull him to the side and say, dude, listen, you've got a personality that I rarely run across. And I'm telling you, bro, people would love working with you. But I feel like he's less approachable because he's so out there. But that's the manager in me wanting to give him every opportunity. And it's because I believe that some people judge a book by its cover, and it's not right, but people do it, And sadly, it's the same thing where there's a girl in that same office, and she's head to toe tattooed, both arms are sleeved up, and she's a really approachable person. But I know that those tattoos are gonna turn some people away, and so I just feel my overall point of this story is just that sometimes we do things to sabotage our own possibilities. And in this world, it is so difficult that I think you need every chance, every opportunity you can get. You need it. So if there's things you can do that aren't harmful to you, you should do it. And just like this guy, if I could just like take him under my wing and say, bro, I could double your sales, I bet. I could take you with your personality and your charisma. I could help your career, So, anyway. But I like the story of the guy that is completely burned. I mean, think about having no fingers, just nubs. He's burned up. If you see a picture of the guy, he's all scarred up. I mean, he's just crippled for life. Nothing he can do about it, and has been since he's 9 years old. And he was able to make something of himself. It's like, I heard a saying, and I've said this before, so if you've heard it before, I apologize, but some of you listening have not heard this. It's one of my favorite sayings. I once felt sorry for myself because of my ragged shoes until I met a man with no feet. Right? Puts it in perspective. And that saying really hits home for me because I remember in high school between my junior and senior year, between my sophomore and freshman year, you know how like your parents go out and go school clothes shopping for you? Well, my parents couldn't do it that year. And normally you get like new pair of shoes or something. No. So what I did, I spray painted my shoes. I spray painted my shoes that I wore pretty much my whole sophomore year every day. And I spray painted them before school started with like a chrome spray paint, if you can imagine that. I used chrome spray paint. I definitely had unique shoes to start my junior year. But I remember feeling sorry for myself because of it. But that saying that I once felt sorry for myself because of my ragged shoes until I met a man with no feet, it made me appreciate my spray painted shoes. Because I have feet. I have my health. I have fingers. And I exercise discipline, and I was able to make it here. So I wish that for you. I hope you can find the motivation and the desire to start on your journey, doing the things that you need to do to ensure that you will have a good life as well, and to enjoy the journey along the way. Enjoy the struggle, because you know it's going to lead somewhere. It's going to lead somewhere good. And on the way, just having a good attitude and trying to get along with your fellow man, trying to find unity, trying to find ways to help society instead of hurt. That's what's going to get us a long way. That's what's going to get us to a better society. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.